having their own moments afterwards because of what happened in the moment. I used to do, in the middle of the pandemic, I would Zoom once a week with the Chicago Jewish Day School, and I would lead the kindergarten through fifth graders in tefillah. But before that, I would go in once a week and I would lead the middle schoolers in tefillah, and then we had to put that on pause. But in middle schoolers, they just couldn't do it over Zoom because they just, they don't care enough. Middle school is hard. But the middle schoolers, when I would go, they would sit there for 25 minutes, and we would sing tefillah, and we'd do all these engaging melodies that for the kindergarten and fifth graders were up and dancing and rocking out, and I'd sit, and the middle schoolers would sit like this. And then the Jewish life director of the school, I would leave, and she would call me and she'd say, I want you to know that they sat like that the whole service, and then the minute they get into the hallway, they belt out the melodies that we were just singing in tefillah. Right? It's sinking in, and sometimes people don't know how to express how they're feeling in the moment. So they need to express it later when they're feeling that moment. But the idea is to provide a moment so that people can have the experience. So I'm going around the country and trying to both hold on to tradition, hold on to those beautiful melodies that we really care about, because I care about those melodies too, and I grew up immersed in those melodies. And so I want to bring those melodies that we all love, both for ourselves and for the next generation. And then I'm trying to access a whole new canon of Jewish music that, for me, is based on tradition, right? I like to think I did one of these talks at a congregation in Massachusetts, and somebody said, what would you define your music as? And I said, well, I don't know, what would you define my music as? and somebody said it was traditional yet modern. It felt like popular, and at the same time it felt like we were holding on to somebody. Somebody last night said it felt like we were walking through the shtetl, and the melody they were singing, like walking through tradition in the old country, being connected to our ancestors. That's what they said. It felt like being connected to our ancestors. And that melody of being connected to our ancestors was written 2 years ago. And there's something powerful about holding on to those strings that can connect us to what came before, but also take us to a place of what people are feeling now, right? The music that people are going to want to experience today is not the same as the music that people are going to wanted to experience 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And so we have to be able to hold on to all of it, right? There's things that are classics for a reason. And then people like to listen to the classics, and then they like to listen to what's coming out on the radio too. And so what I try and do is bring a blend of that. And there are some people who are like, I'm going to just bring this experience, or I'm just going to bring this experience. We're just going to sing Nigun for 45 minutes, and we're all going to have that experience, and it's going to be powerful or it's not going to be powerful. And you're just going to sit and you're going to take whatever you're going to take from it. And there's people who are like, I'm going to do a rock concert with Jewish music for 45 minutes, and you're going to experience it, and you're going to like it or you're not going to like it, but we're all going to experience it together. And I find myself to be a musical moderate, I guess, right? Where I think it's really powerful to hold on to both ends and try and bring everyone along on the same journey. I know not everyone's having the same experience, but I want there to be moments that lift everybody up. And I feel like if you have one moment that's going to lift you up, and then you notice there's somebody else having a different moment, you're going to come back to experience a moment like that again. While if you experience a moment that's so foreign to you, and you see somebody is having the most transcendent experience ever, and you're not having any sort of experience, you're going to be completely turned off, right? Because somebody else, it's the best moment of their entire lives. And you're like, I have no connection to this at all. And so there's something to be said for towing the line and being able to lift up all the music. So that's where I think we can go. If we can find a way to bring in the music of our past and then lift it up with the music of the future, and then spotlight and highlight people who are feeling excited about it and bring them up to the bima and bring them up to the center and lift people up and empower people to be actively engaged in their own Jewish experience, we'll be able to bring people back together. And that's what I'm noticing when I'm traveling around to different congregations. I see it's in small places and large places. I go to a place like Detroit with a huge Jewish community, and I go to a place like Omaha, Nebraska, or San Antonio, Texas. And in a place like that, right, the shul that's all they have, right? There's not a day school in San Antonio, Texas. There's a federation, but there's not such a big community. And so everybody just goes to shul on Shabbat, and then they just stick around all day. And they schmooze, and they eat together, and the rabbi teaches a session, and they just hang, and there's a playground. And that's their Jewish experience. That's where they come together in community. And sometimes it's harder in a larger community because there's so many ways to access Judaism. Right? And so you can access it over here, and you can access it over here, and the synagogue doesn't serve as a hub in the same way. But the more that we can show people what's happening in this space, and the more you can call up a friend and say, I'm going to shul today. There's a Shabbos dinner afterwards. We had such a really nice time. We're doing this Shabbat musical experience we do once a month. You should come with me. That's how we're going to get people. It's one-on-one personal relational connections. That's what I'm trying to share.
Awesome. So I have lots of questions I could ask, but I would like to open it up to any questions from you all. Oh, right there. I don't even have to finish my sentence.
Thank you so much. You mentioned for so in the last decade, there's been this real effort to understand the predictors of Jewish engagement, and as you've already alluded to, Jewish summer camp, of course, right at the top of these predictors. And there's a lot of singing and all of this. Is there any element thus far of clear evidence that engaging in this type of musical training, musical enterprise that is sort of infused throughout not just in prayer, but infused throughout Jewish life, predict greater engagement in Jewish faith, and I'm thinking like towards Christian faith that's very strong. Christian youth engagement rock, Jewish or Christian rock, and how very engaged these churches are, and how truly escalated the number of youth and adolescents involved in Christian. Do we have an empirical experience that we
The question is if we have sort of empirical evidence of Jewish music, especially for youth, directing Jewish youth towards greater engagement with Jewish life, greater engagement with Jewish community, and greater Jewish leadership as they go through life. Yes? Okay. So I'm not an academic, so I don't know about all the empirical evidence. I do think that in the last study, the impact of camp was very high. I think there might have been one question about music, but I'm not exactly sure. The closest thing that I can think of as sort of some interesting data is a couple of years ago through Songwriter Bootcamp and Jewish Rock Radio, which is the other enterprise. It's like a 24/7 Jewish online streaming radio station. We started a program called the Jewish Star Academy, which takes teens from all over the country and gives them mentorship from different Jewish musicians about how to access Jewish music, how to craft their own Jewish music, how to take their excitement about singing in Jewish music and channel it towards Jewish leadership. So we're on the 4th year of the program now, and over 100 Jewish teens have been included, which I know is not a significantly large number, but as a small spectrum size, all these students have gone on to, first of all, continue to be connected to the 6 or 7 mentors that are part of the program. Beyond the once a month mentorship that was a part of the actual program, there was then a second year of an alumni program that was with one particular mentor, and then constant connection. I'm one of the mentors, and I talk to all of my mentees throughout the year. Almost all of them have gone on to, first of all, find song leading jobs at Jewish summer camps and at their hillels and at synagogues in their areas. And through that leadership have then gone on to become leaders in synagogue life. I think that music is a language that everybody can speak and that everybody can access, whether you feel you have the musical touch or not. It's a language that I think everybody has a love for in some way. And I think that especially for youth, the power of being together with other teens and other kids who love music, right? I was a theater kid growing up, and if you're with a group of theater kids, like everyone, it just explodes with energy and excitement about the theater. So if you can channel that into Jewish music, there's really something very powerful. So the conference now for the last 4 years has had a whole teen track where there's like 80 teens who bring the energy of the entire conference because they're the ones who are so excited about this, and they're the ones who are trying to lift it up. And they're empowered, they're featured multiple times throughout because everybody wants to see the kids, caring about Judaism. And in communities where they have like a teen band and they have people who are doing these things, you could see teens with all these leadership perspectives and getting up and sharing. And I think that's a way that we can empower children and teens to start thinking about what it means to be a leader, to start thinking about what it means, like I said, to be a song leader, of standing in front of a group of people and sharing something that you care about. We were practicing for Slichot on Thursday night with Kantor Dan Gross, who said that the reason that he decided to be a Kantor was because of Camp Ramah. I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, at Camp Ramah, Wisconsin, and I think maybe at some other camps also, they do 5 all Hebrew musicals every summer. And when he was a camper, he tried out, every kid has to try out for the musical, and he tried out and he sang Happy Birthday because he didn't care about the musical and he didn't want to sing. And they said, okay, do you want to be Javert in Les Mis? and he said, oh, maybe I can sing. And then he learned how to sing. He sang in Hebrew for this musical, and he had this powerful experience and decided that he was going to take the path now and go be a cantor. And I don't think he's alone in that. I was just talking with Shadow about Yehuda Kurtzer, who wrote an article a couple months ago about the dearth of rabbinic candidates in the field. Right, we're in a sort of time period where we don't have as much rabbinic and cantorial leadership, and he believes that the reason is because the pipeline is broken, which I think he's absolutely right about. And the more that we can show people what this experience is about and take the music and engage people in it and help people realize that this kind of leadership that they get when they're in front of people, sharing and showing of themselves and giving their whole heart, that you can do that within the experience of Jewish life, the more I think we can repair the pipeline. And that's what I try and do. When I travel to different communities, in many places, I've written a bunch of melodies with teens, and so whenever I get the chance, I bring up a teen or two to come and sing some of those melodies. We're going to sing one of them tonight with my violinist, but we wrote that melody with one of my former campers when I was her Rosh Hashanah when she was 10 years old. And I knew that she liked music and she sang, and the nice thing about continuing to go to camp for 20 years is you get to see all these kids grow up. And so, 6 years later, she comes up to me on the first day of camp. She's in the oldest age group, and she walks up with a guitar on her back and she says, Josh, I got to show you something. I said, okay. She pulls out her guitar and she plays me a melody for the Ashrei that she wrote. And I have been trying for 10 years to get kids to like Jewish music, let alone want to write their own Jewish music. And I said, we got to write a song together. So we wrote this melody for Va'anit Tefilati together, which we'll sing later. And I brought her out to California and we recorded it at Pico Union Project together. And so
it's the song that was on not this week's congregational email, but last week's.
Yes, she's there singing it. And so the more that we can empower, I think if we were to do an empirical study in 10 years, I think and I hope that there would be evidence that would show that the music that we're doing and the way that we're engaging teens through music is leading directly to more people being engaged in Jewish leadership.
Other questions? Because I see a lot of eyes closed or heads nodding. So I don't want to keep people here.
Maybe one or two more.
I don't want to keep people here because we've got lots more tonight. If there's other questions about Jewish music in tefillah, anything for Rabbi Warshawsky, or we could call it Susan.
Well, I'm not an authority, but it seems to me that if the younger you can get the kids involved and started, and you do it as a group, and it's really uplifting, it's cool. And then if it's cool, it's something that they want to inspire and do and be part of. So I think really it could be led to a lot of different areas. If you want to make it into Jewish music, I mean, that's the beauty. This is the parents like at the day school and then the Jewish camps. You can still learn and do these things, but you have this added benefit, and if the kids can relate to it, you start building this love at an early age. I think that's part of life to begin with, but I think if we use this area, and maybe it probably is being used, we need more of it. So
Amen. I'll add one thing to what you said, and maybe we'll just close with that, which is that one of the things that's really wonderful about the breadth and expanse of the American Jewish scene right now is that there's every genre of Jewish music you can now find being created by composers and writers in America. And there was a guy, one of my very dear friends, who was living in Ann Arbor, and he was working at Temple Israel. Is that the other one down the main? Right. Okay. He was working at Temple Israel. His name is Jacob Spike Krause, and he writes Jewish electronic dance music, and he writes a lot of pop music, and it's really cool and really fun and really accessible, and you can hear it on the radio, and you might not even know that it's Jewish, but it's based on all these different Jewish texts. We sat with the fifth graders at Hillel Day School yesterday, and I played for them a song in English. that I wrote many years ago. That's about the book of Jonah. And it doesn't mention the name Jonah anywhere. And it talks about the themes of Jonah and it talks about the story of Jonah, but it's all in English, except for the one Hebrew word hayom, which is the word that we're talking about here, because we read the book of Jonah on Yom Kippur, hayom, 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 right? There's all these different things. And I asked them, what was this song all about? And somebody said it was about somebody who's on a journey. It was about forging your own path. It was about choosing the way that you want to live your life. And one student raised her hand and she says, it's about that guy who had to go to a city and he had to tell people
Swallowed
to change
by a
their
whale.
ways, and then he got swallowed by a whale. I don't remember his name, but it's some kind of Jewish story. And I said, yeah, does anybody know what she's talking about? And all the kids raise their hand. They go, Jonah. And then they go, oh, that's what the song is about, right? And you could just listen to the song and you could say, oh, this is a really cool song. Or you could listen to the song and there's this extra layer, right? The same thing that I'm trying to do with Hebrew and trying to, if you understand the Hebrew words, you can open up the melodies in different ways. We could do that in English also. We could try and to reach all the students where they are, all the children where they are, and then bring them in. And I think that's sort of our mission, is to try and take the things that we love about Judaism, right? Each one of us can be song leaders to my definition of the word, can take the things that we care about Judaism and impart them to the people that we care about from the next generation. And so that's my mission for us for today, is to think about what is it about Judaism that you care about, that makes you feel the most powerful, that makes you feel the most connected, and share that with somebody else and be a song leader to somebody else in your life. Hopefully that'll lead us into a really great 5783. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, everybody. And we will see you tonight, 8:45, 9 o'clock, whenever you get here. We'll start at 8:45 with Mariv and Havdalah.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Grabs you and says, let's talk.